So for our listeners, what I want to do is I want to correct a wrong that has started since 1985. There was a dynamic duo in the music industry that, for some reason, they haven't given us any more music since they released in 1985. Now, unfortunately, the producer of this dynamic duo had passed away, so he gets off as far as not being able to give us more music. But I wanted to just say that this is a travesty. I think the music, community as a whole should rally together and say that we want the lead singer of this single to just get out there again. And it was in 1985. We haven't gotten anything from this artist since then. So I think it's time. And if you're listening, Mr. Eddie Murphy, we need you. We need you to come back out, and we need Party All the Time Part 2. If Donnie Wahlberg can, break away from his acting career, to get back with New Kids on the Block, you can definitely break away from your, lucrative movie career and come back out to us for Party All the Time.
Wow.
So we need you, Eddie. Please come back.
Oh, man. And I'm sitting here going, who's he talking about? I could think it was like modern talking, and I'm like, please don't bring them back. Or God.
One of the things that I love about working with Dave on these podcasts is that he has such a great talent of building the suspense.
He does.
He goes on with these great stories, and you're just like dying to hear where is he going to go with this?
Rubik.
And he never fails to let me down. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that Rubik's thing the other day, that was amazing.
Oh, that did it for you too?
Talking about.
Hey, can we talk about Xanadu?
Oh, yes.
Can we? Really? No. Sorry.
Thank you.
You have to go. You have to go back to the other podcast, 1980 movie podcast for Xanadu. But yeah, we're definitely Party All the Time. Let's get back there, Eddie Murphy. Get back in, behind the mic, sir. You owned it, and of course, I'm obviously joking.
For the Romans, give me sight beyond sight.
Greetings, Starfighter. You are about to listen to the totally super awesome 80's Reboot Overdrive podcast. Always remember, no matter where you go, there you are. Ready Player One.
We're on the show today. We've got co-host Scott. Say hi, Scott.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be back.
And we got very special guest Rose, who is also known on Twitter as 80's Music Girl.
Yay me! Look, Mom, I made the big time. Woo!
She's on a podcast.
I'm on a podcast. And you know I never make anything of myself. Anyway.
Yeah, once you're on iTunes, then, you're there.
Well, yeah.
That's it.
I'm just going to pack it in right now.
Exactly.
It's a house in Malibu.
Yeah.
So for the listener, what I did was I gave our co-host today a little homework assignment. And I asked the question, and actually I tweeted about it a little bit earlier, so I'm really curious to see what we came up with. But the assignment was that if we're making an 80's mixtape, and we would be stuck on a desert island together, and now here's the premise, is deserted island. Did I say desert island? Deserted island. If we were sharing a mixtape where we only had maybe only one cassette player amongst us, and you really only had to be able to contribute 3 songs towards that mixtape, what 3 songs would they be?
Scott?
And I know Scott's probably got a laundry list of songs, because every time I give him an assignment like this and I say just 3, he's got, tons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was hard for me to come up with 3, to be honest with you.
I mean, I could lead us off.
Okay.
Because I'm going with Queen, One Vision. because for some reason I've gotten into this, reliving the soundtracks kind of thing, and I've become a big Ernie Klein fan. And he had a recent novel that came out called Armada, and One Vision was part of that. And then so I went back and re-listened to it, and then fell in love with the song all over again.
It's not hard to do.
Yeah. And then I've always had a thing for Huey Lewis and the News. So my favorite song from him is Walking on a Thin Line. So that makes the list. And then any song that's going to put in a little bit of voice from Spock, I've got to pick it. So Information Society, What's on Your Mind, Pure Energy.
Nice. That's a good one.
Yep.
Pure energy.
Synth pop.
Yep. So for me, we're on the deserted island together. We need to get some songs that are going to, keep our energy up and positive. And so that was my list. That's what I was looking at.
Wow.
That's cool.
You rattled through those really fast, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we could stop and talk about each one, but I think we have so much to talk about already that we should probably just barrel through our 3 choices and then move on.
Okay.
Right on.
So, Scott, what do you got?
Surprisingly, we agree on Walking on a Thin Line. That was one of the top of my list.
Awesome.
It's just one of my favorite songs. I always love hearing it. And Dave knows the history with me here. I'm a metalhead, so I like hard rock and heavy metal. And I would have to go. My first choice has got to be Master of Puppets. I just love rocking it. That's one of the best, not just albums, but the song itself is just a lot of it's good. It's good headbanging stuff. And then I have a little more obscure Def Leppard, Mirror Mirror, Take a Look into My Eyes. It's a great song. A lot of people don't know it. It was one of those ones that was buried in High and Dry.
Was it an early Def Leppard?
High and Dry was second album, I believe. It was On Through the Night, and High and Dry, and then after High and Dry was Pyromania, and then after that was Hysteria. So yeah, it was early Def Leppard. And I didn't really discover some of the earlier stuff until I was, until later in life. And then, oh man, the third one is just so hard to choose. I got so many to talk about. I'm going to have to go with another obscure one. Emotions in Motion by Billy Squier.
Wow. That's a good one.
I'm glad you know it.
Isn't it a cover though?
I don't know if it's a cover. I've only heard it.
I thought Talking Heads did. Did Talking Heads do Emotions in Motion?
Emotions in Motion?
Your emotions in motion. Maybe I'm thinking of it.
No, it's a little different. It's a different song.
Okay.
Different song.
So you're right. That was obscure, so I don't know that.
I'm sorry to say Billy Squier. I think the Strokes. So
yeah.
Great song. A lot of meaning in that one.
And I'm gonna write that down so I can check it out later because I'm always looking for new old music.
Yeah, it's just got a cool beat to it. It's not real fast paced. It's not slow. It's just got a good driving. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, it's just kind of cool.
Oh.
So those are my. I think those would be my 3.
Nice.
There's like 20. I swear I got like 25, 30 on my list that I would have to throw in there. But
yeah.
We'll talk more about them.
Yeah, our mixtape only has so much space, Scott.
This is true.
I was gonna ask you, okay, there's a couple questions here. Is this a 60-minute tape or a 90?
I was just gonna say, are we 90-minute in it
or do we go with the full-on Maxell 120s?
Ooh.
Then you got 2 hours. I mean, you got 2 hours of tape there, and if you tape them just right, you can get them with very little space between songs.
Yes, but our Twitter followers have some more stuff for our mixtape, so we're going to have plenty to. We got plenty to fill in. Great questions. Yeah. Rose, what do you got for us?
I'm having to go with something not obscure, but I literally lose my mind every time I hear the opening to this song. It had a horrible video. People have made fun of it for years, but I still love the song because how do you get more bizarre than Safety Dance by Men Without Hats?
Oh, awesome.
That keeps the blood pumping, you've got motions that you're doing. It's like, So yeah, so that's my first one. The second one, it's not Take On Me. It's actually from the Scoundrel Days album. It's October. And Martin Harkett is like seriously whispering the song. He is so sultry. and sexy would be my "I'm going to bed now, don't bother me" song. Do not talk to me, I am asleep. Really.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then the English beat, "End of the Party," only because it's just got so much variation to it, musically and vocally. I'm sure Dave Wakeling probably had an amazing time recording that, but it's just one of those songs that I could probably sing it, but I wouldn't do it justice, and I would really want the actual original creator to do it, and then I would listen to it like forever because I'm on a deserted island.
Which song was that again? English beat what?
End of the Party.
Into the Party. I'm gonna have to look that.
End of the party.
End of the Party. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I gotta look that one up. I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's good, upbeat kind of good piano intro.
Well, just to let you guys know what I'm thinking of doing, it was creating a Spotify playlist based on everything that we kind of bring up.
Oh boy.
So I'm, hopefully, I'll be able to find all these songs and put them in that playlist.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah. So, and we'll provide that link when we provide the link to the podcast. So it'll be fun.
It will. It sounds great.
So now, Rose, tell us about 80smusicgirl.blogspot.com.
I started that probably about 4 years ago. I was really trying to build my page up for Twitter. And as you can see, I am not shy about talking about anything. And I thought, I could ramble in a actually unified fashion, that people might actually read it and think it's somewhat humorous, somewhat informative, because I'm all about both of those things, being educated, being, humorous, and having fun on top of it. So it started out as just reviewing basic songs that I knew. Or I'd make a discovery. My husband's from Scotland. We would go on trips to visit family. I'd run into a record store and go, "What do you got for me? Somebody that's local, somebody I never heard of. They were in the 80s. Give it to me. I want to buy it." And they're like, "What? what are you talking about?" So I'd go digging through their used stuff and I go, "Oh, hey, I never heard of these people. Oh, hey, look, it's orange juice. Oh, hey, So
orange juice. As in Oran Juice Jones, or no?
No, as in Collins. Rip It Up.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was his band. I know, that was kind of, no one caring for the other one. I mean, it has place, mind you. Mind you, it has place. So I would find obscure things, and I would say, "Oh, look what I discovered today," and I'd write a blog on it. And then that concept got, a little dry, and I stopped blogging. And then just recently, in the last couple of years, I turned it into, what if I interviewed people from the 80s, wink, wink, and made it sound really interesting. And, we can add that as a blog, So it was rough, I'm telling you. Nobody wants to talk about themselves, and they definitely don't want to talk about the 80s. So I've got like 3 or 4 people on there. I've got Winston Marché from The Selector. He was actually a transplant in the late 90s. And then I was blessed with being able to interview Robbie Gray from Modern English, and he was very receptive. And then just some regular people. There's like, "Oh, I'm an author. Can you interview me?" I'm like, "Sure, come on." So it just turned into this segment called 20 Questions with 80s Music Girl. So now I'm after Nick Hayward from Haircut 100. I really, really, really want him to do an interview. And he and I kind of chat off and on for about different things. He's like amazing. He paints, he takes photography, he's just like all amazing creative person. And I just really just want like a little teeny smidge of that to shove into a blog. To say, "Look what I did. But no, I'd actually like to pick his brain about quite a few things, and it would probably be about music. But that's my blog story.
I'd like to read that one if you do get to talk to him from Haircut 100, because that Love Plus One is probably it was something that popped into my head when I was making my list of things, because it's just a fun 80s song,
Mine too. Favorite Shirts is always a good one. Blue Hat for a Blue Day. That's always a good one.
Yeah, I don't
But
know
that's just me.
some of their deeper stuff. I don't know some of the deeper cuts on their stuff.
Yeah.
And that's definitely why I wanted to get the two of you on, because I knew that you would be able to dig a little deep into the well of the 80s music, because I'm definitely more of a commercial, guy. So, if it's got like a lot of airplay on MTV, then I'm more aware of that. I didn't really get into the really deep parts of a lot of the 80s stuff. So yeah, I'm a newbie and all that, and that's why I can actually talk a lot about Party All the Time, because that's
Well, yeah.
that had airplay.
Oh boy, did it ever.
Yes, it did.
Rick James, bless his heart, he was going to make a buck whether you liked it or not.
Right.
Very much so. But he had a really good run there, and I just always figured that he would have been someone that would have mellowed with age, and it would have done something a little bit more, I don't want to say mainstream, like he would have produced like younger people, kind of like what Nile Rodgers has been doing. I really think that whole, thing that he was into would have been just kind of kicked to the curb, and he would have been, okay, let me take this really seriously now and start making something of it, and it just unfortunately never happened. So
Between the two of you,
yeah.
do you have any great 80s concert stories?
Oh my gosh. Well, I grew up in Southern California, and the place to go was either Irvine Meadows, which I believe is recently closed or closing very soon. It's like has its last concert going on. I since I don't live there anymore, I'm not up to speed on what they are doing. But it was a great outdoor venue. Saw a lot of great concerts there. But my first concert, I think, was probably the most impactful, and that was Judas Priest in Long Beach. And Great White opened up for him. So it's obvious that going back to the early 80s that I was a huge heavy metal fan, being my first concert.
The best metal.
What's that?
80s gave us some of the best metal.
Oh, absolutely. And the metal of the 80s is really it's a very vague or general statement to say heavy metal of the 80s, because there are so many different genres within the genre. So, you have you have the stuff like the Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, the English Invasion, basically of the early 80s, coming out of the 70s with Black Sabbath and going
Purple.
into Deep Purple. Wow, I've had conversation with Deep Purple. They've got a family tree that goes all over the place. But then I think that first concert that I went to was probably the most impactful, just because it was my first big major concert, and I think I was 16.
Wow.
Yeah, me and my buddy Jim went and we drove. We had a car, so we drove ourselves, so I had to be at least 16.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And I remember the one of the encore songs was Hell Bent for Leather. And Rob Halford, apparently, I learned this over time, that his thing was to always come out on a Harley and hook up microphones to it and just blast the place out with the sound of a Harley. And I will never forget that sound. It was awesome. And then they go into Hellbent for Leather, which is one of their awesome songs, rocking out. So that's one of my favorites.
So the sound system was hooked up to the Harley?
Yeah, somehow they were able to amplify. I mean, it's all, Harleys are already loud enough, and when you're in an amphitheater like that with the acoustics, I'm sure would have been pretty loud even without it. But they actually amplified it through the speaker system, and it was just unbelievably loud. It's one of those concerts where your ears are ringing for 3-4 days.
Well, I'm just trying to imagine the dude that's like in the front row. I mean, he's got no hearing for a month.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
It's like you go, what?
I'm surprised that a lot of these musicians don't just lose their hearing altogether. I mean, you still see them rocking out at 50, 60, 70 years old, and they seem to be somewhat still able to
Yeah,
hear. You know?
yeah.
So, I mean, I listen to my music pretty loud most of the time, and I'm a little concerned. I might lose my hearing down the road. You know.
I'm like that with the TV.
Never know.
The wife yells at me because I have it on too loud.
But you know what they say: if it's too loud, you're too
You're
old.
you say you're too old. Crank that
I'm
to 11, man.
I am.
11. These go to 11. But this goes to 11, which is one of the best spoofs on anything. I mean, that
Oh, yeah.
so I've watched that thing so many times because it really takes like even bits of like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and really puts them into this funny movie. Loved it.
It's just funny having them trying to get to the stage.
Oh, all right, Cleveland, let's go. Hello, Cleveland. Yeah.
Hello? Hello?
All right, Rose, what about you? Concert in the 80s? Got anything?
I don't.
You don't?
I didn't
Okay.
go to any concerts in the 80s. However,
However,
later on, see, I led a sheltered life, and I was actually in the army, so my concert. Well, actually, I do have it. I take that back. I have a concert. I went to two concerts while I was in. I forgot all about this in Germany. Some of the older 70s R&B people were making the European circuit back in the early 80s, and my very first concert was Ray Goodman and Brown. If you know who they are, yay. If not, that's okay. They did Must Be a Special Lady, and that played on the radio for like ever. But only second to the second concert that I saw, which was the Shy Lights. Honestly, I was so excited that I was going to be there to see the Shy Lights, and I say this tongue in cheek because I was on the slot machines for most of the concert. So when they did that big hit that they had, that I can't remember what it was, I just kind of looked over my shoulder and went, "Cool," and and kept playing, So I thought, wow, this is a little bit anticlimactic. I thought I'd be more excited about hearing that, but it apparently wasn't. So, yeah, so I've had way better concert experiences since then, but mostly they involve Rush, so it has
Oh,
a
that's one I've
huge.
never been able to see,
Oh,
and I've always wanted to. I mean,
they put on. I've seen them 5 times.
wow.
My husband's a huge Rush fan, and we've seen them here in the States, in Washington. We've seen them in Canada. Um, they just 3 hours, and it goes by so fast.
Yeah.
And Geddy Lee's voice to me is just totally amazing. I just, props to him for all three of them. Just collectively are like the most gifted musicians.
Oh, Lifeson is amazing on guitar. He's
Yeah,
I mean, you of course Neil Peart. I mean, he's had
he's
a
the heart and
reputation.
soul.
He's had the reputation of being one of the best drummers of all time for
He
as
is the
long as
best.
long as I remember, and he
Yeah.
truly is amazing.
And
But
then the lyrics that he writes, and just, oh my goodness. It's
now is he
just,
mostly the one that's behind the lyrics on a lot of their stuff?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was watching. I didn't get to finish it, but I was watching the documentary on Rush that's on
Yeah.
Netflix now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something came up where I had to walk away and I didn't get to finish watching it, but I need to get back and watch the rest of it. It's really an interesting story, though.
It is. Yeah. They're awesome. They're just totally awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a concert I coveted. I
Yeah.
always wanted to see them live.
Yeah.
So yeah, I envy you for your chance to see them 5 times.
Thank you.
That's pretty awesome.
My favorite band is Aha, and I've never even seen them once, but that's okay. They're reuniting, so yay.
Now, where are they from? Are they?
Which one, Rush or Aha?
No, Aha.
Aha, they're from Norway.
I couldn't remember if it was up. It's up near Sweden or something. I knew they were up in the
Oslo.
northern hemisphere there.
Yeah, where it's really cold.
Yeah, I'm very excited right now about being in a warm place. We just moved here from not far from Dave, actually, and
Nice.
we're down in Florida, and it was like 85 degrees here today.
I hate you. No.
Yes.
I still have the top off my Jeep right now. It's absolutely wonderful.
Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah,
loving
shut up, Scott.
it. So what about you, Dave? What about concerts? Did you get to see many concerts back in the?
Oh my God, we weren't supposed to bring me up. Yeah, this story is going to probably want you guys. You guys will probably want to disconnect. But my first concert experience went to grade school and high school in Florida, and my first concert experience was actually going to Grad Night 1989, which is in Walt Disney World. So what they do is they open up Walt Disney World after the park regularly closes, but for all the graduating seniors that live in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I did get a chance to see Samantha Fox. I got a chance to see Information Society.
Nice.
But on the main stage over by Cinderella Castle, New Kids on the Block.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, this was what, 88, right?
This is 89.
This was in their heyday.
This is 89.
Okay.
So here's how it went. I was with my crew. So we had, a bunch of us that were hanging out together. And
Were you hanging tough, Dave?
we were hanging tough.
Nice.
Yes. And so they don't.
Okay, wait. Are we going to bring up? We're going to keep bringing up the Wahlbergs.
Yes, yes. And they don't want to go see New Kids on the Block for probably obviously reasons.
Yeah.
But I convince some of the guys that, look, that's where all the girls are going to be.
Very true.
Chicks are.
That's where I convinced them so that we would be able to go, and check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, I got to see New Kids on the Block, 1989 Grad Night in Walt Disney World, and that was kind of my first live concert experience.
Nice.
Other than the little they had little stages that are set up throughout Walt Disney World, and then that's where I saw the other acts.
Yeah.
But the one that was kind of the big main stage, big name was obviously NKOTB.
Yeah, they were headliners back then. Yeah, that was like a major experience.
Yeah, that was probably when they're right about when they were at their peak.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yep. They owned the stage, man. They were doing their thing.
But dude,
That's
Samantha
so cool.
Fox, come on, that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, she was in there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I think my New Kids on the Block story, is really, the fun part of that evening.
Well, you were right on. I mean, that's where the girls are.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I had ulterior motives.
Good for you.
Yeah, it wasn't all just about watching a bunch of guys dancing, in sync together.
Because that was late. That's a good one.
But I will tell you that in recent years, I do like to bring up that video, You've Got the Right Stuff, because my wife will jump into the dance.
Oh,
it's really kind of funny. So, she'll do that with the kids, and of course the kids are like looking at her like, oh my God, please stop, Mom.
What I'm doing.
Yes.
I'm having an epileptic fit. I actually prefer Weird Al's version. I like the white stuff. I like the white stuff, baby. The middle of it all, yeah. I listen to a lot of Weird Al.
He's a musical genius, really.
He is.
Lyrical genius.
He's musical, and he's progressed over the years, because if you listen to Mandatory Fun, the latest album, it sounds so different than another one, Rides the Bus.
Well, I mean, you got to think about the production value.
Absolutely.
Look at that kind of production that he can put into it now.
Yeah, and he auditioned with that on Dr. Demento's show.
Oh, I used to listen to Dr. Demento all the time. I love that show. I miss a lot of those funny old ditties.
I do too. Yeah.
That you can't beat Weird Al on his accordion though.
No, that's my favorite part of the album, the polka settings, because when he just takes music And this is what I just feel, okay, Weird Al or Mr. Yankovic or however you want me to call you, just play all the stuff that I don't listen to in the most bizarre fashion you can think of and make me like them. So when you got Royals, and you're listening to Fancy and all this stuff, and then you take the rest of it and shove it into a polka montage. Oh yeah, I will listen to that like all day long, and all night long.
All night long. We got a little Lionel Richie in there.
Yeah, I gotta throw hello. Yeah,
Is it me you're looking for?
yeah.
And I was working for FedEx and I was making deliveries. I walked into this one place and in their warehouse they had a flyer up in the back room and it had a picture of Lionel Richie and it had the tear off phone numbers, And it said, "Hello, is it me you're looking for?" I'm like, that's the weirdest. That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but it made me laugh so much. It was bizarre.
Oh, love obscurity.
Oh yeah. And that's where I think I lose a lot of connections with some of the people that I talk to about my love of music, because some of the stuff gets a little bit too obscure for them and they don't get it, and I mean, yes, I love a lot of the mainstream stuff too.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the same time, I find it's such a shame that I think a lot of the people that are downloading music today are missing out on a lot of the better songs that you don't get that you're not getting on the album. Like when we bought albums and tapes,
Mm-hmm.
you listen to the whole thing. You didn't just buy one song. I mean, yeah, they had that back in the with 45s and stuff, but
Oh yeah, and the singles, cassette singles, yeah.
oh right, singles.
Singles.
How about that? Singles. Remember that?
Oh lordy.
But I really think that that a lot of the people that are just downloading stuff, they just find one song and they download it and they never really get to experience the rest of what that artist has to offer. And there's so much that is out there that people just don't get to hear. And I really try to dig in deep to some of the music. And although I gotta admit I really am kind of stuck in the 80s groove. There's so much today that I'm so out of touch with a lot of today's music. So
Tough. They make it tough for you. I think they, even more so than it was 20 years ago, they're really marketing towards a specific demographic.
mhm.
And musically, it's just not happening for me. Every so often, now I have guilty pleasures. Like every so often, Pitbull will actually make something that actually makes sense, and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of like that. I mean, I have Keisha's "We Are Who We Are"
Mhm.
because I find it a fun song that, and even then, it's like, what, 6 years old now? It's like, oh, I might want to karaoke that one day. It's like, oh, you can't say that swear word in the karaoke. Oh, man. So there'll be something, and they have like the really good pop. And then they have the kind of, okay, middle of the road, this is for all the teenagers out there that we want your money from pop. And then alternative, and then rock. And, so it's just how do you find your niche? How do you get satisfied with today's music? And I don't.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with when your most influential years are, and that'd be probably your high school years.
Yeah.
That's where I think I've gotten most of, I'd say pretty much the majority of my influences from that era, from my high school years, which was 82 to 86.
Mm-hmm.
And even before that, even in the late 70s, mid to late 70s, you're cruising around with your parents and they have this certain music on, and there's a lot of late 70s stuff that I can really relate to also.
Yeah.
But it just, I think it's generational.
Mm-hmm.
Totally generational. I remember, you think about people that 30 years ago when they were in their 50s, 20s, 20, 30 years ago, when people were in their 50s, they always look back on the 50s and 60s as their music that they appreciated the most. And I
Right.
think that's where I kind of think I got stuck in, because that was when I listened to the most music, was in the 80s. So now I struggle with finding new artists. Although one of the new artists that I did find that I just can't get enough of right now is Alter Bridge.
No
The
idea who
right,
that.
what's that?
I don't know who that is, but I'll write them down.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the follow-up to Creed, right?
well, actually, little side story here. Creed, with Scott Stapp as the lead singer,
Yeah.
they still exist and record. They haven't done anything in a couple years, but they go back and forth between Creed and Scott Stapp as lead singer, and Alter Bridge. They switch out the lead singer with this guy named Miles Kennedy, who played a little cameo in the movie Rockstar. Another Wahlberg reference, by the way.
It's the Wahlburgers.
It's the Wahlberg show tonight. That's what we're going to call it.
Yeah.
So if you remember the movie Rockstar,
Yes.
about, man, that was like 12, 15 years ago now.
There's no way that movie is that old now.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
IMDb.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay.
I could be wrong. It's over 10. I'm guessing it's got to be 10 years old.
All right, I'm gonna IMDb it.
Well, you mean
So
there's
anyway.
other people that were in that movie other than Jennifer Aniston?
So
Okay,
anyway,
no, go ahead.
yes, Jennifer Aniston was also in it. Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's other people in there other than her. Okay, no, go ahead.
So at the end of the movie, when Mark Wahlberg decides this scene is not for him any longer, he hands the mic over to some kid in the audience. That is Miles Kennedy, who is the singer for Alter Bridge.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So
2001.
13 years. 14.
Wow.
14, almost 15.
And it's weird because he looked older then than he does now.
Yeah, Mark, he's aged well.
Yeah, he has.
Still looks pretty good. Actually, it's funny. We were just watching before the show. I was watching a show called Blue Bloods,
Yes.
which also has Donnie Wahlberg as one of the.
Yeah, that's his,
Like, here we go.
his thing right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Donnie was New Kids on the Block.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so I mean, but yeah, I watched Blue Bloods too.
It's all
Great
about
show.
the Wahlbergs.
It's all about the Wahlbergs.
We're gonna have to find a way to get a hold of them because they got to hear this. They got to hear this podcast. So
Well, and you know what? They've got that restaurant in Boston, the Wahlburgers.
Really?
Yeah.
There was like a reality show.
Their family owns a burger restaurant. If I ever go to Boston in the springtime, I would definitely go to Wahlburgers.
Right.
All right, so we actually have a lot of Twitter shout-outs to do for our mixtape.
Nice.
We're going to start off with Matt Duck21, who's got 5 tweets. So let's get through those. A Flock of Seagulls, Space Age Love Song.
Oh, yeah, the second one that was popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got Billy Idol, Eyes Without a Face.
Love that one.
The Cars, Drive.
Mm-hmm.
Beastie Boys, Paul Revere.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got Dave Grusin, Fratelli Chase. Lewis, I Thought the World of You. Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, Are You Ready to Be Heartbroken?
Oh, wow.
New Order, Age of Consent. Nucleus, Jam on It. And, I think this is actually our first 80s music podcast where I can actually say the word Wang Chung. I don't think it's come up before now. So, Wang Chung, Dance Hall Days.
Good one.
The Replacements, Within Your Reach. He's going Roxy Music, Avalon.
Oh, love that song.
Run DMC, Peter Piper. Simple Minds, Alive and Kicking.
Alive and Kicking.
The English Beat, Save It for Later.
Save it for later. Yep. Good one.
So he had a lot to input.
Yeah.
I didn't give him the 3-song limitation. So
No, you did not.
no.
He had some good ones on there. That was so great.
And then at Mike Mixtape is going Africa by Toto.
Mm-hmm.
Crockett's Theme by Jan Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran. Oh, Jungle Love by Morris Day and the Time.
Nice.
Yes.
Love it.
Little Jungle Love.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Hootie Ha Ha is given Yes, Leave It. Toto,
That's a great
Africa.
song.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Leave It.
Yes, that is a great song.
Mm.
The intro acapella to that is pretty cool. I think that's the song I'm thinking of.
And then Toto, Africa.
Mhm.
Doobie Brothers, What a Fool Believes.
Was that 80s?
Yeah, it was Michael McDonald.
Yeah, I could have sworn it was like late 70s, but
Yeah. It could
it's
have
close. It's right there. It's right
been.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to it's easy to let these cusp of the decade roll
Mhm.
over from one to another
Yeah.
because even though if it came out in 79 or 78,
Yeah.
it still might have been it was still being played on the radio in the 80s, and that's some of the
Definitely.
memories that we have. I mean, like, look at "Don't Stop Believin'" by Journey. I mean,
Yeah.
are
It was
we
like
ever going to stop hearing that? I mean, I love the song. Don't get me wrong. I love the song. It's something that is part of my youth and part of that generation. But it's going to be timeless. It's going to be one of those songs, timeless.
Definitely.
He also brings up M. Jackson, so I'm sure it's just in general, just anything Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah. At Fun Pun 32 is going Cruel Summer, Bananarama.
Cool.
Footloose and Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins.
Okay.
Eye of the Tiger, Survivor. So really a lot of soundtrack type songs in there.
Yep. A lot of
Which I think we might have to dedicate a whole podcast to soundtracks.
soundtracks, definitely.
80s. I mean, there's so many good ones.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Lost Boys. The Lost Boys.
Oh, that's a great one.
Phenomenal.
Mm.
Yeah. Totally.
And then our another tweet for at 80s Girl 216. Once again, she didn't get the memo about top 3. So it's She's a Beauty, The Tubes.
Yeah, good one.
Photograph, Def Leppard.
Okay. Yeah.
We Belong, Pat Benatar.
Uh-huh.
You Be Illin, Run DMC. Paul Revere, Beastie Boys. Borderline, Madonna. Little Red Corvette, Prince. Oh my gosh. I Remember You, Skid Row.
Yeah.
Oh.
Live Wire, Motley Crue. Boys Don't Cry, The Cure. And I skipped over one on purpose because I want to make a point of this. Every time I listen to 80s music, either on the radio or on Spotify, this song always shows up. So she captured it. Jesse's Girl, Rick Springfield. That song is always there. Always. So it's always got to make the list anytime somebody brings up 80s music.
You know, and what's the deal with their guitar? It's like, I would watch, that was 2 videos I would literally watch just for the humor factor. That one and I Ran by Flock of Seagulls.
Oh, man.
One finger, play the note till it runs out of gas, and then you just switch to the other one. You just look really intense because, man, I'm a musician and I got this, you know. And then Rick Springfield with the saw and the guitar up and down. But apparently I found out later he was actually not playing the guitar. Someone else was playing the guitar, and they wouldn't let him play it in the video, so he was mockingly playing the guitar.
Are you telling me that Rick Springfield was Milli Vanilli-ing it?
He was Milli Vanilli-ing it for that particular video for some reason.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I got to use Milli Vanilli as a verb.
Me too.
Yes.
Because we're all about that.
Another great video that was on that list, though. She's a Beauty, The Tubes. Yeah, I love that video.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah,
that's
bizarre,
like borderline smurfing there, because that's like, really? Why is that little boy so young? Where are you taking him?
Yeah. Just to a peep show, no big deal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, between that one and what is it, the one that Madonna does, Open Your Heart? You know, it's just kind of like, okay, kid's a little too young for me. So.
I gotta say that the Tubes, the song "I'll Talk to You Later" is one of that one is just a great song that was
Yeah.
never really recognized as one of
Yeah.
the great hits of the '80s. I know. I remember seeing the video quite a bit. As
Yeah.
he was the lead singer was basically playing a politician at a podium
Mm-hmm.
for the most of the video that I recall. But that was a great song.
Great song.
It's on my short list. Anyway, do we have more?
No, that's it for Twitter.
Oh, nobody brought up the Fix. No Fix.
Oh, I know the Fix.
Red
They were
Sky at Night. Oh, they had so many great hits back then. They're still touring too, which is awesome.
Are they really?
Yeah, I can't wait
Now-
till they come to Seattle.
They're Australian, right?
Sure.
Oh, you don't. I'm pretty sure they were Australian.
Nobody fact checked us, please.
No, the church is Australian. I know that, but I actually thought the Fix was American. But you can look it up.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, because I just totally didn't think they were. But
Privilege was always one of my favorite songs by them, which is a obscure deep cut that.
yeah,
Oh no, that's a great song. That album, "Reach the Beach" by the Fix, is phenomenal. Actually, if you don't know it,
writing it down. Totally writing it down.
English rock and new wave band formed in London.
London.
Oh, so they were a mixture. They were a mix. That's cool.
Yeah.
So no Australian, but I was partly right.
Oh, good day, mate.
Good day, mate.
Yeah.
Shrimp with Bobby. Okay, I won't do that because I have a lot of people that are from Australia that follow. I'm making fun of you, really.
That's not a knife. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The noise.
Sorry, I saw the
I
shot.
just watched that. Yeah, I just watched that the other day. I haven't seen it for like 10 years. And I tried to stay awake long enough just so I could see that one segment. And I fell asleep right after he got to the off the airport. And I remember thinking that her boyfriend was such a smurf. Like, they obviously really wanted you to leave this guy for the Australian Outback King. So, and it actually happened in real life too, which is so bizarre.
So can we have a few honorable mentions for our own mixtape ideas?
Sure, let's hear it.
Okay. I'm dying. I'm dying over here. I got a list a mile long, but I'm only going to read off a couple here. "Comeback" by Jay Giles Band.
Ooh.
"Comeback Baby." Comeback, or I think it's just "Comeback." Great song.
Yeah.
Great video. Peter Wolf Can Dance.
Nice.
"Escape" by Journey. And how? No, wait, was that 79? Might have been 79. Anyway,
Flag
Sunglasses
on the play.
at Night.
Corey Hart.
Yes. I mean, there's some that you have to throw into this mix
Me too.
that were very popular,
Mm-hmm.
that were the mainstream, and I think that would have to be one of them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No one else did that. I mean, it was just like a totally different concept.
Yeah, it was,
The
and
song itself was a different concept, It's not like people wore sunglasses at night. It's just, then you got My Future's So Bright, I've Got to Wear Shades. And it's like, oh, we've got a sunglasses reference. Quick, hurry up and write a song so we can.
And, I was actually trying to think of a way that we're going to work this in, because you brought up a great point on your blog about what are the meanings of some of these songs.
Oh, yeah. That was a little harsh.
I'm like, no, it's okay though. Sometimes you're like, what the heck? What are these people? I mean, where is their mind at when they're writing some of this stuff? I mean, it's really, really out there. And then there's some that are just that have such true deep meaning that I think we can all relate to. Like there's a line in Rod Stewart's Young Turks. I'm not going to be able to remember it now because I'm on the spot. But it talks about time.
Yeah, it's like the second verse.
Man,
It's like
yeah,
towards
it's
the
like
second
time
verse.
slips through your hands like sand through your fingers. I can't remember how it goes now. I can remember it when it's on. Like,
Yeah.
when I'm doing when I'm
Yeah.
singing when I'm singing perfectly on key in my car.
Yes. Yeah, do that.
Just
We
like
all do that.
everybody does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And in the shower.
yeah. You know, when that's happening, I can remember all the lyrics then, but
Well, yeah.
put me on the spot and I can't do it.
No. It's
But
okay.
stuff like that, or moving in stereo by the Cars, or
Mm-hmm.
the Ghost in You.
That's
Oh,
yeah. Here it's on my list. It is totally
yeah.
on my list. And the only reason I didn't add it, it was just because I would have just kept going. Because that whole Mirror Moves album is just
I
yeah.
happen I happen to see them at one of the Summerfest. Dave, you're familiar with Summerfest up in Milwaukee there?
Yes.
Okay, well, we went up there with a bunch of people and just hanging out, and they happened to be at one of the free stages, and it was just amazing.
Nice. They're good because I've seen him like twice now in Seattle. And Richard Butler is just he's got his Bowie-esque stance, where he leans on his mic stand, and he just thrusts himself out and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Fall off the stage so I can render you
and I'll tell you,
medical attention.
I didn't really know of the Psychedelic Furs in high school. I knew who they were. I knew
Yeah,
that they were popular at the time,
yeah.
but I never realized how talented they were until we went. And this was, I don't know, maybe early 2000s that we saw them
Yeah.
at this show. I was blown away by how good they were. All these years later,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what's his name again? The lead singer.
Richard Butler.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
You're so dead on with the David Bowie stance.
Oh yeah, he's just,
Like I remember specifically, I'm like, wow, he reminds me of David Bowie. That's just funny that you brought that up.
yeah, and he lives stateside too. I believe he lives in Connecticut.
Oh,
So
really?
a lot of touring in the U.S. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It caught me by surprise. It was a
yeah,
very pleasant surprise to
yeah.
see them at this little free venue. The Milwaukee or this Summerfest. They have 6 or 7 stages kind of spread out over this big fairground area,
Yeah.
and it's really a cool little thing. I've seen a couple. Saw Kenny Wayne Shepherd there. That was good too.
Nice. That's
So
cool.
anyway,
So if we're adding to our mixtape,
Yeah.
and once again, I'm probably still very commercial, but
Okay.
songs that I can't ever get tired of hearing. And if it's going to be on our mixtape and we're on a deserted island anyway, it
Hmm.
might as well be something I enjoy listening to.
There you go.
So, Our House, Madness.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I never get tired of hearing The Look by Roxette.
Oh, you don't. Such an
Yes.
amazing song. Such a beautiful voice.
Yes.
that is a
So,
good one.
but Our House, Madness, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I had the single, and it was like one of those things that I'm sure my family just really got tired of because I had to hear it over and over and over again, and I don't know why, but it was just one of those songs that I had to hear and rehear and rehear.
But they came around the time to where it was like 10 or 12 of them in the band, and they had some really good hits. And only a few select made it over here, because there's a lot of like Baggy Trousers, and their slow single Must Be Love, and
Oh
then
yeah, I remember that one.
One Step Beyond, which was just purely
Great.
musical, and you had One Step Beyond,
Yeah.
do do do, so total dance
And
tune.
they had like a full horn section on that band.
They
too.
They
did.
did.
And
Yeah.
that really put them over the top as far as the numbers of people in their band.
Yeah, between them and Fishbone, I'm telling you.
Fishbone, yeah,
Get a
another
tour
one.
of those guys. It's like, hey,
Oingo Boingo was another band that had
oh,
a nice
Oingo
little
Boingo.
horn section in it.
Danny Elfman. Yeah.
Oh,
Totally Boingo.
Well, Huey Lewis in the News too. So I mean,
Yeah.
I've got maybe that's the reason why. Maybe I started off with Madness and then went to
Mhm.
graduated to Huey Lewis.
There you go. Well, and then when you don't hear anything else from the people that you do start, to search around and look for something that's comparable.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, Huey Lewis, they all, he's always said, they're just nothing but a bar band, and they couldn't understand why they were so fascinating, but they just came along right at this specific time.
Yeah, the timing of that sports album was probably
Yeah.
been better. Um, Great album cover too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
then they hooked in with the whole thing with Back to the Future too. So
Oh, yeah, that was a
yeah,
saving grace, I think.
yeah,
That,
that really made it too.
yeah, that kept him going for a while.
So Rose, you got any else that you gotta add to our mixtape?
I am, only because, well, I'm 80s music girl. So. Uh, all-time favorite 80s song in the entire world. I could listen to it nonstop for the rest of my life, and it is "Take on Me" by Aha. Only because it's Aha. So no, actually, the song, the lyrics are a little obscure, and I'm not really sure what they're talking about. That maybe that's not for me to know, but just listening to Morton Harkett's voice is very comforting to me because I'm a vocally driven person, so when I listen to music, it's like when I listen to metal, Scott, I
Hmm.
go, if I want quality, I go straight for Dio.
Oh, Ronnie. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
it,
definitely had an amazing voice.
yeah, and there's another band out there in the '90s called Hammerfall. They, I can't remember. They had two lead singers, but the original lead singer is just, once you get up past the rafters and then, your voice notes are starting to hit the heavens, it's just like, yeah, bring it.
Yeah.
Really awesome. Kitschy, but how can you live without Kajagoogoo's Too Shy? I know you
Mm.
tried, but you can't do it. Uh, Modern English, Melt With You, always been a great
Uh,
song. They got a new
you
album
know,
coming.
I gotta say that song. There's a couple things that just make me think of the '80s, and I think that Modern
Mhm.
English "Melt
Yeah,
with You" is probably like the one song that if I was to put one song to represent the '80s, I would have to pick that song to
yeah.
represent it. Not necessarily that it's my favorite. Plus, it was in a great movie, right, Dave?
I was about to say, Matt, you better be listening, Valley Girl. All right.
Valley Girl, oh my goodness. Young Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
Rose, just so you know, I get picked on for being a Valley Girl fan. So
well, as well you should. But it's okay because, you know, we needed movies like that. We needed to have, relevant, because I would have never known what a Valley Girl was had I not seen Earth Girls Are Easy
Right.
and Valley Girl. Because I lived in California. Never knew anyone that talked like that.
oh,
Never.
gag me with a spoon.
For
What
sure.
what part of California were you in?
Southern California. We migrated from Arizona. Thank you, Mom. In 1974, and because I took like a big trip, it's like okay, 1970, we left Illinois, drove across country, did the Route 66 thing, ended up in Phoenix. Boring, boring. Don't ever want to go back there. Landed in California, Carson, California, and
Carson. Okay.
Carson Torrance, went to Wilmington Junior High School, went to Carson Senior High School. I had family still there in Huntington Beach, and
You have
spent some time.
family in Huntington Beach?
Yes, I do.
I have family in Huntington Beach.
Do you?
That's where I grew up.
Awesome. I have family that's NFL royalty in Huntington Beach.
Really, like Tony Gonzalez?
Yes.
Yeah, he went to my high school.
He's the only NFL player that lives in Huntington Beach, so yeah.
Yeah. Does he still live there? I didn't know he might
Yeah.
be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Well, he's
very
retired now, so yeah. So he just
yeah.
does the CBS NFL Today thing, and
Yeah, I had no idea he went back home. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Very
it is.
cool. Yeah, he
Yeah.
graduated about, I don't know, 10 years after me.
Everybody graduated 10 years after me, so don't feel
Yeah.
bad. Okay,
Yep.
we're all friends here. Oh, Joe Jackson stepping out.
Oh, yeah, great.
I have an interesting little tiny story about that. Never seen Joe Jackson. First time I heard Steppin' Out, 1980 something. It was in Germany, and I thought this is a wonderful song. I love the piano intro,
Mm.
and I thought, wow, what a great song. And I don't know what they're talking about, but I guess it's about going out and having fun, and you can dress in pink and blue, and we'll get in a cab, and let's go do New York or something. I don't know. That's what I thought it was about. Hopefully, that's what it was about. And never saw him. Never saw him. About 4 years ago, Joe Jackson came to the Moore Theater here in Seattle. My husband went with me. He never, very seldom ever goes to any of my 80s concerts. Anybody that's revisiting their old roots that are 80s, Psychedelic Furs, OMD, English Beat, he's like, I'll see you when you get back. So he actually went to this one with me. I was very happy. So here we are arguing, not bickering kind of a thing. Wonder what he's going to open with. Because he can't open with Steppin' Out, because that's like the encore song, spoken like a true American. And he's like, you never know, honey. He says, I don't know. I think he's probably going to open with that because, he has a bigger career than, that song. And I'm just like, oh, no, I don't like being wrong. So he's like, well, okay, he comes out, blood audience, the lights go dim, and he sits down at the piano. He opens the very intro to Stepping Out. The auditorium theater erupted. I'm telling you, people were on their feet. I was screaming. I've never screamed for anyone. All the people that I've seen live never screamed, not one time. I screamed when I heard that intro. I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually hearing it live. And I looked at him, okay, so you were right, big deal. So that was kind of a fun experience. And he puts on a great show, by the way. Just amazing.
One of my favorites was always, Is She Really Going Out With Him? That's a great song.
My daughter knows that one. So she's like, did he sing that one? I'm like, yes, dear, he did.
He would have to. That's like
leave the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last one is Johnny Hates Jazz, Shattered Dreams. Just the very first line in there, so much for your promises. And I always thought, wow, that's good. That's sarcasm. I like that. Let's listen to the rest of the song. So yeah. So that's the other songs that I would add to the mixtape.
We have definitely got a long mixtape to listen to while we're on our deserted island.
Yeah.
But at least we got some good tunes.
Well, and if the professor's there, he could probably build a dance floor made out of coconuts. And but he's not, so that's
right.
Sad. Did you guys ever see I don't know if you're MST 3000 fans or not, but when they did the movie, they finally got around to doing the movie, and they did This Island Earth, and they got so much flack for it from the actual sci-fi fans, the real sci-fi fans, that it was a creditable, if I'm not even using the word correctly, sci-fi movie, and they shouldn't have made fun of it. And I'm thinking, no, I've actually tried watching this movie. I can't not make fun of it. What are you talking about? There's one scene where he introduces himself as Dr. So-and-so, and one of the characters from MST 3000, and if I can say the line, it's not really a swear word, but just the way he pulls it off. Trace Ballou comes back with, what's this and the rest crap? Because after a while, Gilligan's Island started shortening the theme song. And the rest. Yeah. He's like, what's the rest crap? So that always made me laugh.
Well, I think we decided that questionable words would be replaced with the word Smurf.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can edit that and put Smurf in if you like. What's this and the rest Smurf? How's that?
I think crap is okay, though.
Okay, thank you. I wouldn't want anyone to get the wrong idea.
Something that I feel remiss that I feel a need to bring up.
Okay.
Southgate Media Group, they actually have a partnership with something called TeePublic, and there's a place for people to order, to pick out T-shirts. And if you ever get a chance, going to the website and just browsing 80s stuff is just awesome. But something that I just found recently ties into the Blues Brothers, and it's a T-shirt that says "Ray's Music Exchange." So and it's got like the logo where it's got the address 300 East 47th Street, Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And it's got kind of a distressed look to it, kind of aged retro appearance. But what I'm going to do is I'll have, as part of the show notes for this podcast, have the link to this T-shirt. But I love the 1980 movie tie in to just music.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously, the scene with Ray Charles is perfect.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
shake a tail feather. Yes. And as usual, I've got to take an IOU. Not that I can't quote Blues Brothers all night.
No, well, that's fine because she probably quoted a lot better than I do. I just remember the rawhide and
Stand by your man.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I didn't watch a lot of movies truthfully back then that were adult films. So when I had children, I had to kind of stick with the Muppets and films like that. I mean, not that we couldn't collaborate on a few, like Neverending Story or movies like that. That was like our go-to movie. That and Princess Bride and
Nice.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Honestly, I want Honest Trailers. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Honest Trailers or not, but I want them to try and do an Honest Trailer of Princess Bride.
What is this? Honest Trailers?
Honest Trailers is a channel on YouTube, and they take movies that you like or don't like, depending on how much requests they get for them, and they break down a movie trailer in the most basic sense.
Okay.
And they just totally just. There's a lot of spoilers in it. They've done Mockingbird or Mockingjay or any of the Catching Fire or any. As you can tell, I don't watch those things. But they've done Jurassic World. They've done Aladdin. I mean, any movie you can think of that was like a really big deal during the time it came out. And they just break it down and say, I can't understand why, Epic Voice Guy is just like totally a really awesome speaker. So he does the whole movie trailer thing. They've done the Avengers, the Age of Ultron. If you just look them up, I'm explaining it badly.
No, I'm
yeah.
on their page right now, the YouTube.
Yeah.
And the number one right now is Star Wars.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna have to watch that.
Yeah, definitely.
Just for fun. And let's see, Back to the Future is like number 5. Got Jurassic World.
Yeah.
It looks pretty fun. I'm gonna have to check it out.
It's a lot of fun, and they do other stuff too. They have like fight mode. It's just like what if this character fought this character, and from separate movies and things like that. And...
Okay, number 11 is a movie called The Happening.
Oh, mercy, Lord, yes.
Guess who's in that?
Mr. Wahlberg. No, wait, Deschanel.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad movie. He lets you know, too.
Yeah.
Wow. All roads are going to lead back to Wahlberg on this one.
Yeah, they are. They're totally. We should just call it as the Wahlberg Show.
The Wahlberg podcast. That'll be the subtitle.
Yeah. I'm Donnie. I'm Marky. And in this podcast, we are the Wahlberg boys.
Really going to have to get this to them somehow.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
I'm sure they have a Twitter presence.
They do. Yeah. There's some woman in Boston that probably wants to beat me up right now.
My wife is a huge Mark Wahlberg fan. She loves him.
I think he's okay. I mean, he has his moments. He's eclectic, I'll give him that. He doesn't necessarily do specific types of movies. Like he will do something that's a thriller, and he'll do a comedy, and he'll do an action, and he'll run the gambit on.
And he'll also do a tribute to 80's metal.
Yes, there you go. And this is why we love him the most.
That is probably my favorite
metal
movie.
No.
Some people think that was a bad movie. I think it was very well done and very close to reality. if you knew the metal scene of that era, it was pretty close.
Well, yeah, and then you get people like Judas Priest and people like that were talking about Spinal Tap, and they're like, yeah, that wasn't too far off the mark, believe it or not.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you guys have any parting thoughts? We'll start with Scott.
I could go on with this talk all night long. I could just keep going and going. I love music, not just of the 80s. I like a lot of different music, maybe even earlier into the 70s. But I can just sit and chat about this stuff for hours on end and not get tired of it. So maybe that's what we should put on a tape, is just, us talking about music for hours on end. We can do ourselves.
Our mixtape is our podcast.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we talk about all the 80s music in the entire world. Because we've just barely scratched the surface.
Oh my.
There's so much more, yes.
Good and bad. Just
Yeah.
That almost needs to be its own podcast. Just the bad music of the 80s.
The bad and the ugly of the 80s.
Yeah. So what about you, Rose? Any parting thoughts for our listeners?
Well, I just want to say that I'm a mom and a grandma, so I have a tendency to be encouraging, in my nature. So I want people to embrace the 80s. I want them to go back and revisit some of those songs from yesteryear and just really put like a feel on how you were then, how you're different now, what are your thoughts on certain bands that have continued on through the years. Duran Duran's obviously one of those, chameleons that just keeps, changing and molding. And just did I went to their concert in September, saw them at the fair. It was awesome. Nile Rodgers opened for them with Chic. So it is possible to have not a formula, like not AC/DC formula, but it is possible to have, continuity throughout the years, and I see a lot of resurgence with a lot of the newer band going back and reflecting on stuff from the 80s. I always like to see it when they do mixes and they incorporate that into their songs. It's always so awesome. And just keep the dream alive and just tell yourself that, we built this city.
Oh, no.
All right. So maybe since you guys are a little more into music than I am, you can what does knee deep in the hoopla mean?
Yeah, knee deep in the hoopla, Scott. What's that one? I kind of have a take on it, but what's your take?
I'm not exactly sure what that one line was. I know that song is one of my least favorite of all time.
It is.
You want to start talking about bad songs of the 80s? That would be probably at the top of my list. And although I did appreciate Starship and
all
Jefferson Star, all the different levels of them. But when they hit that mark, it threw me off. I mean, it was. All I remember that it was that they played a bit of traffic news from San Francisco on there, as part of the song, and it was just just bad.
That was a sellout song, totally.
It really, yeah.
But having said that, I was rocking, Mannequin was like one of my favorite movies to watch, after dark when the kids are in bed. Because
guilty pleasure movie.
Yeah, I was totally and completely in love with Andrew McCarthy.
Yeah, Andrew
so
McCarthy.
It's like, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. That was just the anthem,
Was that song part of that?
Yeah.
Movie?
Yes.
I forgot.
That's the end song where they get married in the window.
Yes.
And Hollywood Montrose looks better than the bride and the groom. So, yeah.
I thought that was the music montage scene where they're like dancing around the store.
No, that was a different one. I can't remember what the song was. Sorry, I haven't seen it for a while because now it's like I'm 55 and I go, whew, let's watch this again. Woman, put some clothes on.
What was her name? She was
Kim Cattrall.
Kim Cattrall.
Yeah, she ended up in Sex and the City and started off in Porky's.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We saw where her career was headed. Oh, and let's not forget, props to homeboy Kurt Russell, Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, yeah, she was in that too, huh?
Yes,
True.
she was. Saucing things up.
See this wormhole that we could go into? We can keep going
Yeah,
and going.
definitely. And I was doing parting thoughts, but we're going to keep.
Yeah.
We started knee deep in the hoopla, and we went
Yeah. Well,
deep in the
that's the title
hoopla.
of the album. That's their title. That's the album title. Was knee deep in the hoopla. But to me, I think knee deep in the hoopla just means you're knee deep in you Smurf. Basically, you're just running in circles, and you're trying to, get out of this trap that you're in, and you're trying to play, and people won't let you gig, and it's like the people in the back are stealing your money, and I don't know.
I
So,
kind of relate it. Not that the song is this bad. I love this song. Is something that Dave mentioned earlier was "The Stroke" by Billy Squier. Kind of the same
yeah,
premise. That's kind of how I related to it, but I could
yeah,
be way off. I don't know.
that's okay. Billy Squier to me had a really good voice. Ultimately, I don't know why he felt like he had to. I don't want to say stoop to that level because obviously it was an extremely popular song, but to me he could have done so much more than that. But I don't know. That's just me.
And you guys, somebody brought up like the worst song for me. It's got to be Tony Basil, Mickey. Because if you hear that song,
It gets stuck.
it's stuck,
It
Yeah.
is.
and you're like, I can't get this stupid song out of my head.
Yeah.
And so to me that would be, yeah, if that song's on the mixtape, I'm not listening to
It's not going to be on the mixtape,
it.
because she's actually singing about Mickey Dolenz.
No
Apparently,
way,
they
really?
had kind of a tryst
Huh.
back then. Yeah, and I'm thinking, honey, he was like Peter Tork was better looking than Mickey Dolenz. How weak are you?
Yeah.
At
What
least go
about?
for Mike Nesmith, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, of course, Davey, God rest his soul, but he was my favorite.
oh geez, let's do a monkey podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
Okay.
was Marcia's
Can we
favorite.
do it now? Let's do it now.
Yeah, we could,
I think that was a little before the 80's, though.
Oh, it was. That was my
Yes.
era. See, that was my era. So I started in the 60s. So
But yeah, my
But-
sister and I would watch the reruns on MTV.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
brought it back in the 80s, and then they had to oh my goodness, let's write some songs and sing so we'll be current with the times.
Oh,
And
wait a minute. They did do a resurgence in the
yes,
80's.
they did, and they toured, and
We could make
that
this
was
fit.
that was then. This is now. I had that song, and they came out, with their big shoulder padded jackets on, and
We can make this fit. We can wedge this one in
Yeah.
80's reboot, I think, somehow.
yeah, definitely.
Thanks to MTV and then that, what they were doing with bringing them back. You're right.
Yeah,
We could definitely revisit this conversation.
absolutely.
All right. So, in order to wrap this up, how do people find you on social media? Let's start with Rose.
I am at 80's Music Girl on Twitter. I am 80's Music Girl. I have a Facebook page, so you can visit that one, and I just share stuff. I have bands and stuff that I follow, so I just throw the stuff out there about them. Annie Lennox, she's got a solo act now, and the Fix, of course, are on there, and the Furs are on there. So I just hey, this is what they're doing today. Go watch this video. And then, of course, my 80's Music Girl blog spot, which I have a link for on my 80's page on Twitter.
Okay, cool.
Ciao.
All right, Scott.
I am at Scott's Eye on Twitter, and or you can find me at Scott Compton Photography on Facebook.
Nice.
And I'm Dave, so I handle our Twitter account, which is at 80's Reboot. And you can also find us on Tumblr, which is 80sreboot.tumblr.com, facebook.com/80sreboot, and if you ever get a chance to email us, it's at 80sreboot@gmail.com. So a lot of ways to get a hold of us. We appreciate you reliving the 80's with us and geeking out about 80's music and helping us build our mixtape. So until we talk to you again, have a good night. And Smurf you.
Good night.
Bye, everybody. Murphy, you too. Good night.
We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80's Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80's Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80's Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.